Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Not Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight for this special Halloween episode of Horror Not Oasis is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am here.
I do want to make a note. Last episode, I said it was going to be Friday the 13th Halloween, and I just meant it was going to be a Friday Halloween show. I guess saying Friday, just the 13th comes afterwards naturally. But we are here, and my goodness, do we have. I knew it was going to be special when I got this, and it wasn't my original choice for the Boneyard this year. I had one from last year that I was saving up, but this one came out of nowhere, and it definitely just punched us right in the jaw. Well, actually, it didn't punch us in the jaw. A bottle got tossed at our heads. And boy, Ian, we sat through it. It's not. Oh boy, but we got to talk about it, and it's hard to talk about. But yes, we are here to do our annual Boneyard, which for those who haven't listened to our shows before, or just finding this, or happens to stumble across this review of this obscure movie that we plucked from the ether, it's where we discuss the obscure, insanely rare, extremely hard to find, just films that are in the horror genre, independently released, produced, made, and hopefully just to get some type of information out there on the film. We've done it plenty of times over the years. Of course, we did it earlier this year with Homeless Joe. There was no information on that film. Again, a couple years ago, we did One Last Stop in a Violent Town, Woodstock Holiday, One Ad, The Legend of James Worley. Just a lot of them where there's not many reviews, not enough information. And this is another one. There's nothing I could find on this prior to watching the movie. Ian, you want to go ahead and put the poster up? Our film tonight is Happy Halloween, Trick or Treat from 2007. At least the DVD was 2007, but the production was 2006 on the DVD when it was made. And again, the DVD, that's the cover. It's cheap, self-produced, self-made, self-distributed. And of course, when I found this, as I always do, doing my sleuthing on eBay, and it just randomly popped up, and I'm like, what is this? There is zero information about this film. And of course, being me and saving lost horror movies, for better or for worse, we needed to review this Halloween because it's festive and it makes sense. Happy Halloween, Trick or Treat. Of course, there's nothing on the front or back, just the synopsis of the movie. They don't even give the director until you watch it. If you want to, go ahead and show the back, Ian.
Where'd it go? All right.
So I'll just go ahead and read the back here. Rampaging teens on a traveling party bus seal their doom on this Halloween day when they decide to throw a bottle at a Vietnam veteran. As fate would have it, their paths collide in a dangerous game of trick or treat. This movie contains sophisticated violence and tasteful gore, which leaves the viewer in suspense and awe. So trick or treat. Push the button if you dare. Go ahead. Push it. Sophisticated violence and tasteful gore. Ian. That's pretty far-fetched statement, nonetheless, from after the only two people that's watched this in 20-some years. So I'll just get into the movie. I don't want to get into the backstory of the film until I do a little bit of synopsis there. It's pretty much basically the back of the box. it starts off with these teenagers on this blue bus, and they're just partying. Of course, I don't think they're drinking yet, but they have a bunch of Halloween costumes. They have live guns on this bus for some reason, and um, which they're just playing around with like it's all willy nilly. Um, they're flashing their asses at old women in a car. Um, and so they're just driving down the road, and they're just entitled, snobby teenagers. Just they're dumb kids. I mean, they're quintessential dumb kids. Um, and they're just making, I wouldn't say they make poor choices. It's just poor. So they see this homeless guy, not really homeless. Like, look at this guy on this vagrant on the road. Let's throw a bottle at him. Slow down. And so they just throw a bottle, and it hits him, and then it hits him again in slow motion, and then it hits him again, and he falls over in slow motion. And so they're just having fun. And you know what, Ian? That bottle could have killed us. That bottle could have killed him.
Yeah.
I mean, that bottle could have killed him. I don't know if I said the bottle could have killed him, but it could have killed him. And so we'll get into it. Trust us. There's a lot to digest with this one. And so he falls over in the middle of the road, and this lady that's behind the bus. Again, this is all off screen. This is just us talking about things that are happening in the film. So it's just one of those films where just it happens. It happens. And so the kids, they're off doing their thing, going to the mountains. It's Grizzly Mountain. And the lady calls the cops, and the sheriff comes. It's Sheriff Beaumonte, and he is the quintessential just lazy bad cop. He doesn't really want to do any police work. They're like, well, he's like, there's a bottle there, it's open, I smell alcohol. They're like, well, that's the bottle that hit him in the head. I don't know, is he drunk? You sure he's not drunk? It's just, there's a lot of that kind of dialogue where it's just repeated over and over throughout the film, and there's a lot of, we'll get into it. So this first act, this first opening scene of, because we're following the homeless vet for a good majority of the film before they get to the woods. And so he's rubbing the blood because the bottle broke. It like hit him on the back of the head. So he's like cut up. And so he's like rubbing the blood off his back of his head and his neck. The lady that saw everything happen, like, I'm going to give a police report. We need to file charges. And like, well, the sheriff's like saying, well, come down to the office. And the nearest hospital is 150 miles that way. If you want to go take him and get him looked at, like, oh, we might do that. We might, thanks. And so it just keeps on going where it's just lingering on the vet and this lady. And then they go to the sheriff's office to file their police report. And again, a lot of repeated dialogue. Man, that bottle could have killed me. Those teens, oh man, I swear, we need to do something. We need to press charges. Like, well, I guess I can do it. I mean, the only thing you're giving me is there's a blue bus and they threw a bottle. I don't even know. Or were the kids? Were the little kids? Not like they were cheering. They're jumping up and down. Oh, okay. So yeah, there's still not enough information to really do. But I'll take a report. And then he calls in the deputy and like, hey, get that report in here. And like, yeah. So it's a blue bus. Yeah, there's not much I can do, but we'll work on it. And so the lady gives the vet a ride to the mountain base, which is Grizzly Creek, which is at the base of like Grizzly Mountain. And so going to Grizzly Creek, he's hiking through the woods, basically. So he gets a stick and hikes up the road. He says goodbye to the lady that picked him up and dropped him off, and he's going through the woods, just hiking. And after a while, he finds the bus with the kids that threw a bottle at him by happenstance. And he says, you know what? I'm going to get mine. And so he decides to make himself present and known to the kids. Like, I got thrown, telling them a bottle got thrown at his head. Oh, it could be just anybody. How you know it's us? Like, oh, this is my cabin. This is my outhouse. This is my neck of the woods. Basically, this is where I live. Oh, it doesn't see your name on it. Like, how can you tell us this is your place? Like, oh, I can't. And he just walks off. And from that point on, he just kind of, I'm going to get mine, basically. And then that's where he slowly goes into PTSD mode. PTSD mode. And he starts having visions of his dead corporal or sergeant in the war in Vietnam. And he kind of, and I guess, goes on a killing spree where he's playing trick or treat with the teenagers. And that's technically the gist of the movie. But my goodness, Ian, this film, there's a lot to unpack. Even that, I don't even think the justice that people don't understand with this film that we're trying to convey is like, that's like half the movie that we went through, just to get to that point. Because this film's like 74 minutes, and there's not much happening. So like the teenagers, they're just jacking off, basically doing nothing. They smash up a car, they set it on fire, while the vet just mopes around and steals the dog for some reason, because they have a dog there as well called Rocket, and he becomes friendly with the dog, basically makes it his own towards the later end of the movie. And so like he just says screw it, he goes into crazy vet mode and starts attacking the teenagers on the bus in, I guess, some sort of type of methodical way, but it's not. It's a very, the choices is definitely, because we talked about that with Homeless Joe. Like, there's a lot of choices in Homeless Joe, and none of them really. It made for an experience with Homeless Joe because it was just ridiculous in nature and tone, and just like the choices that were made. This one is, I want to believe I see what they're trying to do, but it's definitely one of those where there's just too many things happening at once, and they can't decide on that one thing, and they have to stop, show something else, or linger on a certain specific scene for a long period of time, and then they just like stop that, go to something else, and then they start that for a couple of minutes, and then they stop that, and then go to something else, and then they repeat the same thing, and then they go into slow-mo, and then they invert it, and then they do the fisheye lens, and then they decide to use this new movie maker tool, and then this movie maker tool, and then it'd be cool if like his face like intertwined with one another, and you just see the smoke coming off of the screen, and then there's like so many little things. There's just choices that were made where it's just baffling and wild. And again, I'm not going to hark on the acting, but I'll just say that the acting is definitely indie. This is not the best. I'll just say that. And there's no script either. I really honestly believe there's no script. There's a general idea of what to convey in the movie, but a lot of it's like the same scene repeated. Like the editing choices are bad. Like where it should have cut and edited something, they repeat the same dialogue over again at the beginning of that scene that we just had the previous scene. And so they continue on, and then they cut to something, and then it overlays and it interwines with everything. It's not confusing, but it's like a fever dream almost, where it's just like too many things are happening, and you're just like sweating, and it's just like, what is going on? What are these choices that I'm witnessing? And not to say it's a bad movie, but it's just like, I mean, it's bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, it's just, but you just got to remember, this is a low budget indie film where I think the director and people were just like, let's go do this here, just let's go make a movie, like, again, I appreciate that aspect of it. But man, there is just choices that are wild and dialogue that is not human. It doesn't feel natural. Ian, like does
Yeah.
fire burn, Ian?
Yeah.
No, it's not fire. Does fuel burn?
Yeah. Does fuel burn? Like,
Does fuel burn? The
that
delivery on
was.
the lines are just top notch, honestly.
I mean, they were confident.
Yeah.
I mean, you could really tell that they had fun making this movie. Like, it definitely felt like a passion project. But
No, it's like because the director, his name is Bruce Evans,
yeah,
and the veteran, the Vietnam vet in the film, is also a co-writer, and that's Alan G. Gregory. And again, prior to watching the film, I didn't have much information. Once I got it into player, we watched it. I managed to get some information down, and then after the film was done, I did some research, and I managed to come up with a little bit of information, which happened so fast, which was amazing, and I'm kind of grateful for it. Even though the guy didn't have the biggest part, he sort of shows up at the end. But Bruce Walden, I got in contact with him, like, hey, I'm trying to gather some information. I mean, are you able to help me anyway, or put me into contact with someone? Again, it's very, I just did this a couple hours ago. Like after the movie was done, I was trying to get some more information, and
yeah,
of course he put me in contact with a few other people to get in contact with, and but the one that would have the information doesn't have the message icon on Facebook, so he basically took my information to provide it to him, and like the Bruce's part was very filler and as a favor to Bruce basically, and to be honest, he's kind of like wanting to keep like independent horror and the mechanics of movie making alive where this was shot. And you might be wondering, because I asked you Ian earlier, like watching, like, where do you think this is shot? Because at one part in the car, when she's coming up to drop the vet off to the mountain base, it has a California license plate. And I was like, okay, so this is like, again, shot in California. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But you would be hard pressed. It's not in California. It is actually shot in Butte, Alaska. This is an Alaskan film. And believe it or not, they're sort of hand in hand with another film that we reviewed, Moose the Movie. They're basically, the same. They're in the same company in a sense. Like they're different departments, but they're the same independent movie making in that general area of Alaska, which is like threw me for a loop. So that was kind of funny, and because like that's crazy. We just reviewed Moose earlier in the year for the indie horror, the Independence Marathon. I think we did there. No, it was the Monsters Day. It was Monsters Day, and yeah, I was just like trying to get some general information on the film, and like again, he gave me small little nuggets, but nothing amazing. So hopefully, now that my information is passed on, I'll be able to get some more information, because like I said, there's nothing really out there. I mean, Bruce Evans is still alive, so that's good to hear. And like Bruce, yeah, and so Bruce Walden, I actually saw him like a couple of weeks ago or just recently at a post office, and he seems to be doing well. They didn't say anything, but still, it's just like happenstance. Like I found the movie, and then we started to review it for this, and then I get in contact with Bruce Walden, who recently just saw the director of the movie. It's just like all these little out of control little situations here, and just like it's cool to see that all the stars in the sky align for just like this random movie that might not be the best, but there's good intentions, and it might not be properly made, but just to go out there and just like do a little sleuthing, because I try my best with some of these, and especially these when there's not much out there, and especially when like all the cast are basically in Alaska, or most of them are. So it's kind of hard to get a lot of information um, for the film. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Ian, but I wanted to bring
Oh
that
no,
up
you're fine.
early on because it needed it. It didn't. Again, it's history, and I'm trying to preserve it. But go ahead and
Yeah.
go in your thoughts, Ian.
Oh no, you're absolutely fine. This movie was kind of drawn out, in a lot of spots. Um, it kind of felt like it didn't know what it wanted to do, but that sometimes happens with passion projects when you and your buddy and get a couple of people together and just kind of throw something together like this. And it's an indie budget, so you're gonna have a lot of hiccups, especially that. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to the film. Um, just like a guy having an existential crisis for most of it.
And that doesn't
Um,
even seem all
yeah,
that, you know, it's not drawn out. Like it's not up to par with like what it should be. Like he's going
yeah,
through his PTSD and like he's going to go on a killing spree to get revenge, but that barely happens.
yeah. And there's barely any. There's like 2 deaths in the entire movie. Um, like not a whole lot happens. It's just him terrorizing these kids. Um, I mean, they use a lot of different masks in this movie. So I don't know if they bought a bunch or
No, it was on the it was at a yeah, it was like at a party store that they got the mask at because it's in the credits of the film.
yeah. So
And
that's,
even
I
one of
mean,
them was Freddy Krueger. He got under.
yeah. And like there was like a bunch of different masks. Um, other than them saying what holiday it took place on and the usages of like a little bit of like pumpkin and stuff, I never really got the sense that this was like an actual Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, but you would think it would be because like the guy does say trick or treat and happy Halloween and stuff like that. And I don't know, I was kind of expecting something a little different um with that aspect of it. Um but I don't know. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah, it kind of lacked in the slasher department, and it just, I mean, it just lacked in general.
Yeah.
Um,
I wanted more crazy.
yeah, it needed to do that. Something like "Don't Go in the Woods," where it's just like a vagabond going crazy, cutting people's heads off with everything, stuff like that. But it's like it had fun to it. Rituals. It just had that you know vibe to it, where like again, crazed killer in the woods, getting revenge. Um, but like this one was just like, I'm gonna prank him first by writing. He doesn't even write trick or treat on the seat. You don't see it, but like he puts something on. He puts like glue on the toilet seat, and then like, oh, you hope your ass is on fire, and then you have this.
I'm gonna go make a stinky in the bum's outhouse.
Then you have that.
Yeah, and that
And
was another thing. You could tell they're messing up lines.
yeah, and it's basically like I said, the editing is just not good. I mean, obviously for the film, but there needed to be more of a structure to it, and they can't leave the outtakes in the film and just like they're stumbling over the lines. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was funny. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it added a little bit more charm to the film. Like you could
Yeah.
tell, like these people were doing their best, and
Yeah, but
sometimes,
again, it's just like there's no script. That's the thing. Like they're just like trying to remember like this is your line, like, and then like 5 minutes go by and like, what was my line? And like, oh
yeah,
yeah, like trying to remember it on the spot. There was a lot of that. Again, it's just the choices, and then it's just like you have the veteran going crazy and just like attacking people on the bus, sort of like Jeepers Creepers 2 in a sense, where he's attacking some of them on the bus, and then like he's like wearing the scarecrow mask, which is the cover, and like trick or treat, and then he like runs away, and then like they have guns in this bus, and like they're just like a surplus of guns in this wooded area in these grizzly mountains. Everyone has loaded weapons and artillery, like the high end stuff, like assault rifles, and it's just like nuts. And so he's just like, again, coming up, like you would think they'd come up with like better scenarios in a sense. Like there's like parts that just like come out of nowhere, like, okay, he has this mask on from where this person's now under the bus. Why is he crawling under the bus? Like, this is just an old bus in general. It's broke down. Like, how is it still mechanical and working? Because like one of the scenes involves the guy getting like his foot wrapped up, and he starts to get pulled into the bottom of the bus, which doesn't really make sense when you think about it. Like, I mean, even the kill itself, I mean, while it's interesting, you're just like, what is happening? Like, what is this? I mean, it's just like he's getting like just like lynched up through the underbelly of the bus, and it's just like it doesn't make any sense. And then like it's just one of those scenes you have to watch for yourself. And again, it's going to be hard pressed to do because there's not many copies of the film out there. But it's just one of those scenes that's just like, what is even happening? And then the sheriff shows back up because apparently early on, if you pay attention to the background that they zoom in on, when he's talking to the Vietnam veteran and the lady, is that his daughter and son are a part of this group. And so it's basically the second half of the movie is the sheriff and the deputy going after the veteran, trying to burn him out and attack him for attacking the group of teenagers. And then you have that series of events, which is, it kind of reminded me of the Halloween Double Trouble horror show, where it's just like random, close-up shots of stuff, where they have the dancing robotic skeleton, and we have to see that for 5 minutes,
and then it immediately, like, abruptly cuts off.
Exactly. And then
yeah, there's a lot of choices editing wise.
They're like, remember that fire years ago? Like, yeah, I remember that. It was a big fire. I still have my Zippo from it. Like, we're gonna do that again. And like, okay, we can burn this shed down now, right? And like, we have better things. We got fuel, and we got, and then the continuity errors, again, it's just all over the place. Where like he's holding the torch, and he's holding it in his right, his left hand, the gun in his right, and he's just talking, and he's like, "Come on out, you homeless guy! Come on out, you vagabond! Come on out!" And then the next scene, it's just gone. It just disappeared. It's like it's just choices, and I loved it because it was so stupid, and I was just cracking up. And then the scene where the veteran is having flashbacks of his sergeant leader, and like it's a flower pot, right? And it has the sprouts and the vines sticking out, and they made that look like, again, it was like vines and sticks on a war helmet, army helmet. And so like you have the sergeant's head finally from the potted plant to the sergeant's head in the table, and it's like, kick ass! Come on, go kick ass! You gonna let them treat you that way? Come on, kick ass! Yeah. It's not as ridiculous or as fun in its predicaments like Homeless Joe, because Homeless Joe was just, there was just, again, at least that had the blood and the violence at the last act that you kind of didn't see coming, and just like the poor choices in that film, and just like it kind of made it to where it's like it was stupid fun. And this one, it's just dumb. Where it's just like, again, I mean that lightheartedly, where like it's just I mean, I get it, I do. They're having fun, but it's just like they're not. Again, it's not like they're going out to make a good movie. They're just going out to make a dumb slasher movie, basically. And I was like, when we were watching it, like after we got finished watching it, I was like, man, this kind of gives off Fisted vibes, but I don't know if they're being, I kind of don't know if they're being spoofy or intentional, because it doesn't seem that way. Like they wanted to go out there and make a movie, but it doesn't seem like it's campy to be campy, like intentional, like Fisted was. This is like, there's good intentions with them making this film. And like they're just having fun, basically. And that's the thing. Like, again, he's like putting on all these masks. The Vietnam veteran is like, there's the Freddy Krueger mask, the Scarecrow mask, and then there's a dog mask. Not to mention, again, I mentioned that earlier with the dog Rocket, where he just all of a sudden turns into a killer. Like he's been with this group all day, and I don't know whose owner it is. But like they've been with him, and then all of a sudden on a whim, he just goes for the throat because he attacked the veteran. And like, I'm friends with the veteran now, and he gets and he goes through the throat, and then he gets the guy, he's holding his neck and he's getting ragu poured on him, and then it's like he just got his throat ripped out. Blood should be gushing from like his hands, and no, you can see off screen that the ragu pasta sauce is coming down on his face. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And like I was thinking, again, I'm all over the place, but like this movie is like driving behind an old person who can't decide where to turn off. They're just slow, and they don't use their signal, and then they finally turn off. Like you're still not sure, and it just felt like that. Like they didn't know where they wanted to go with it, and they're just taking their time for a good majority of the film.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And most of the movie was just, like, I mean, a big chunk of it, he was walking through the woods. And then, like, after he got, in the beginning, when he got hit with the bottle, then it was just like, just a bunch of scene changes, but there wasn't a lot that happened in between. So.
Yeah, because we need to follow the killer, Ian. This is like in a violent nature. We need to follow the footsteps of the killer. We needed to know that he got hit in the bottle and it could almost killed him, and then he wanted to press charges. And then like, we should press charges. Like, I don't know, there's not enough information. Like, oh man, that bottle could kill me. I appreciate you picking me up and dropping me off where you're going to be up at the same time, same place. It was just a lot of, I wouldn't say meandering. It was just not enough to really drive the point home of a slasher movie with a guy going through PTSD in a haphazardous way. And like, again, like you said, there's only 2 deaths, and like he terrorizes them, and then like, again, like they need to do more with the masks. I mean, they're pretty decent. It's just like you were finally getting to the point of like, okay, this is getting cool, where he's terrorizing them on the bus, and then the sheriff comes along, and then you have that series of events, and that kind of just like puts a hold on what was already before. And so we're following the sheriff now instead of the teens that are basically hiding because they're all on the blue bus. And then like, so we're following the sheriff and the deputy, and then it's just like a bunch of nothing for a while, and it's just like, this is just kind of puts a damper in the slasher aspect, and it just becomes like, tramping through the woods, and the sheriff's talking to himself and repeating the same dialogue over and over. And then there's no resolution to anything.
Yeah, and everything, and then it kind of just ends. And I really wish this movie was a little bit more crazier and a little bit more fine-tuned. I think, honestly, I would love to see them retry this Because I think there was a lot of potential that could have been, that was just untapped there. Because there was just so much going for it. And to get, and I hate that it, with a film like this, a passion project and everything, you could tell everybody was doing their damnedest. But just not really sure how to go about it. I think if they were to redo it, I feel like they could, take our criticism and just kind of fine tune it a little bit.
Yeah.
Please don't do those like weird filters anymore.
Yeah, those filters and inverted video, and there was a little bit of the blue world in there too from Homeless Joe. But it wasn't as dominant. It was just a few scenes here and there, It's not, we're not living in the blue world. But it was there. So it's like, it's crazy how two random films out of nowhere use the same blue world that we happened to stumble across in. But yeah, like, for what it was, it's definitely, there's a reason, this is one of those where, like, again, I appreciate everything that went into it and just the audacity and just, like, again, the fun of just making a movie. I get that. But it's just like parts of it just felt like, again, they weren't exactly sure what they wanted to accomplish. They didn't know, again, like, we're following the veteran for half the film, and like, he's always rubbing the back of his head like, man, that bottle could have killed me. Like, we get it. It's engraved, but there needed to be more. Honestly, I guess if they could took that out and then, like, added more of him terrorizing the teenagers on the bus, yeah, that would have made sense. But, like, we needed, like, his backstory and the lady that picked him up and saw the whole thing. Like, we needed her backstory and where she's going eventually. And then it's just like, it was again, choices were made. I don't agree with a lot of them, but it was just a wild, it wasn't crazy like Homeless Joe, where we were just, like, enthralled by how bad it was. That one is, like, prime so bad it's good. This one was just, I appreciate the filmmaking aspect and going out there and making your own film, but it's just like there was a lot left to be desired to what I kind of was expecting it to be, because it sounded fun, and it didn't really live up to that. Even though, like, again, there were some moments. Don't get me wrong. When the stinky in the bathroom, and then the does fuel burn, and then of course, like, she's talking to herself and like, hey, you guys hear that noise down there? What is it? I don't know. And, like, she was, like, talking to herself, and it's just like the way it was said, and it was just, there's a lot of instances like that where it's just like the dialogue was just ridiculous. It's like there wasn't, like, ridiculous scenes like Homeless Joe, but just the dialogue where it's just like, it almost has that tongue-in-cheek where, like, we're having fun here, and it doesn't look like we it's not, like, intentional like Fisted, but, like, we're having fun. And again, there's no script to it, and, like, they're flubbing over the lines. The editing choices are just ridiculous, and then just reusing, like, you hear the same dialogue, like, in a span of, like, 3 minutes, repeated over and over for 10 minutes. And it's just like they needed to tighten that up. And just, like, again, I know you're having fun, but, like, when you have, like, one scene of dialogue and then you cut to the next scene and it's the exact same dialogue but from a different angle, and then it goes on from there, and then it cuts, and then it shows this particular scene of the veteran talking and putting war paint on the dog and talking to the dog, and then he's putting it's just it's weird. It's a wild ride. It's just like the choices that were made.
Yeah, definitely. And I, like, once we started getting into, like, the Halloween, like, because if they were talking about how it takes place on Devil's Night, then it's day and immediately night, and once the like all the different masks started busting out, I thought it was going to be like each mask like representing like a different. I was just like trying to come up with something like different masks. He made him do different things, kind of like a different personality, and it was just like kind of like a nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing really happened.
And another thing that we need to mention is that the teenagers they have the guns and they have the pointed hats basically that the Viet Cong wore during the Vietnam War. And so basically again he's thinking, in a sense he's thinking that they're they're the enemy basically, because he's seeing like war flashes and flashbacks of the Vietnam War, and he's like seeing all them walk around with the little circular hats and the weapons, and he thinks they're the enemy. And there's just like scenes that don't make sense too. Like later on when her name's Pumpkin, by the way, the female in the movie. And so like she's sitting in the bus and she's just holding a flash grenade, and she's in the Halloween garb as a Viet Cong, and it's just like she's just sitting there like, I guess she's scared, but like what's she gonna do with a flash grenade? She's, and like I don't know, there's just like a lot of scenes where it just like it shows something but there's like no payoff. And that's like again a good portion of the movie, because like the sheriff comes, get in the bus, and then he goes after them, and then we don't see the teenagers no more. And that's the end of their storyline, even though they're the main arc of the movie. He wants to get revenge for getting the bottle thrown at him. But apparently, I guess it goes through family where, like, okay, now I just take it out on the dad, but apparently he doesn't. And he just runs away, gets in a car.
Yeah.
I mean, the chasing with a truck. There's just a lot of, again, the choices weren't the best. I mean, because it's just, like I said, we said it before, it's just all over the place. And it's just like, there's just like so many choices. I mean, it's honestly like, I wish we could describe like we're trying our best with like the editing choices, and then the filters, and then the ones that look like if they're day for night, and then the blue world, and then the flashbacks, and then the slow motion, and then the super slow motion with the dialogue that's slow-mo as well. And just like constantly, it's all that. It's just like everything that's on Movie Maker, I'm going to use it. This effect would be cool. Let's use it here. Why? It doesn't make sense, but it's there now. I'm going to distort the audio here, slow this down, tint this, take the contrast down on this, kick the contrast up on this person flubbing their lines, and then all of a sudden we're here and this character is no longer a part of the picture, but now we're going to follow this character and the sheriff and the deputy, and then oops, the movie's over. It needed like to keep one narrative instead of just branching all these paths that don't have no payoff.
Yeah. Like I just wish there was a little bit more. That's all I really can say about that. It's just I wanted more from it, because just like the whole masks and everything just was such a cool concept, and it just kind of went nowhere. And I was really hoping that this movie would go somewhere, because like it felt like it would have been a fun movie had it just been a little bit more fine-tuned.
Exactly.
But I don't really see anything else being able to go into.
No, like again, at the moment, this is about as much as information we have to provide with the film. And until I get more from the person that has my contact info, I will try to provide that into the description box of this video. So I'll try to keep everything uniformed, and like if I get much information, just so like again, there's more information out there, because again, we're looking at a film here that's, again, I mean, if it was shot in 2006, I mean, it's almost 20 years old, and there's nothing on the film until today. And again, for better or for worse, who's to say? But there's nothing, and that's the one thing I love to do when it comes to the Boneyard series, and that is to bring the obscure to light, whether good or bad, and give them their time to shine. And again, we've done that many times, and again, some not the greatest, some pretty solid. This is one of those. It's just like it's right there in the middle, but it's like it's out there now, and it needed, because again, you're looking at almost a 20-year-old movie with like just disappeared off the face of the earth basically until tonight on Halloween, and that's what I love to do, and it needed to be shared. Again, take that as you will, and but I'm happy to get it out there, and if nothing else, it's always a fun experience sharing with these stupid movies with you, Ian, and this Homeless Joe is just some wild moments, and this one had it, and just one last time, I need to know, what is she gonna do?
I'm gonna go make a stinky in the bum's outhouse.
All right. So she's going to go make a stinky, and I think that's going to do it for our Boneyard episode of Happy Halloween Trick or Treat from, again, 2006, 2007, from Bruce Evans and Alan G. Gregory and Lone Wolf Productions. And now we get into our candy rankings. And I think I went last week, so you go this weekend.
I was trying to think of something that I felt like would be that, because I felt like this movie was going, the description and everything and what it took place on, and just looking at the thing, and even some of the scenes that happened in this movie. It was fun, but not great. So I was thinking of those wax fangs. You don't see it often. I don't think anybody even really buys them outside of like things that come in like a big bag. So you really never see them anymore. But they're chewy. They take forever to eat if you actually eat it. But they're not good. They are not good, but they're fun. You get to play with it a little bit, have your little fun, but then you're just like, that's over with. And then that's just like what I was thinking, because they're just take forever to eat if you manage, because they're not like the grossest thing in the world, but they're not very flavorful. So that's what I was thinking. Little wax things.
Yeah, I was thinking of something similar to that with the wax bottles, but that didn't really suit what I was thinking about for the film. And again, I was going through a lot and just like trying to piece it together. Like, does this work? Does that work? And like at one point I was looking up the candy cigarettes, because it just felt like they're fun, but there's not, it's just sugar, but it just didn't work. And then finally I kind of came to the decision where, like, you know what? I mean, there's a little bit there, and there's an anesthetic to it, but if you get too many of them, all the flavors don't mesh well, and it's just weird smorgasbord. And I'm going to go runts, because you have the banana, you have the grape, and then like you can start with the banana, and then, you know what, I'm going to get another one, and you put the grape in, so you have banana and grape in your mouth, and they're like, well, that flavor doesn't actually work all together. I'm going to pop in something else, and then you get another flavor, and that mixes it in, and then like now the flavor's all over the place, and like you already have all this candy, so you might as well eat it. And so you put in another one, like, okay, this is good for a while, and then you decide to pop in another one, and it changes flavor, and so you're like, you're experimenting with all these different flavors, trying to find something that works, and none of them do. So I'm going with runts.
Okay.
All the different fruit flavors.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So that's going to do our candy ratings. Now, this is the fun part, is our marathon rankings. And I swear, this one took me a while towards the last act, but I wrote them down. And again, usually once I just write them down, I usually just stick with them. And for a while there, I was going to keep it rated as how we did the marathon 1 through 5. It was just like each week because that's kind of how I felt. But then I just started thinking like on the last, the previous two that we had, and like, you know what, those don't really fit like what I want to. And then I just started messing around like, well, what am I going to remember? And then I started thinking about again what we said in the reviews and how there was like other things that were better for it. And like, you know what, they're fine, but I'm not going to remember them. And so number 5, I went with Pumpkinhead because it's serviceable, but again, it just didn't land for me as much as I wanted it to. And there's better out there with, like, again, we said in the review, Dark Harvest, and it just like it's good, but it's just not good, in my opinion. And then number 4, I went with Pumpkinhole because I liked the journey that it went with, but it still felt, again, because they're both similar, Pumpkinhead and Pumpkinhole. There's that slowness and that build, and there's just like not exactly the that moody, dreary sort of pacing to both of them. And I think I like the story more in Pumpkinhole, even though it's like similar and like the deeper you dig is sort of the same thing. But like I liked sort of the aspect of that, even though again I dug the monster and the Pumpkinhead. I don't know. I just like that. I enjoyed it a little bit more. It was more, just like sinister in a sense, where it was eventually going. Number 3, I'm going Happy Halloween. For a while there, it was my number 5, but then always say moments and like just like the stupid absurdness of the film. She's gonna go stinky, the masks, and then like some of the stupid things that happened. I'm gonna remember that more than I'm gonna remember, like over Pumpkinhead and Pumpkinhole. So Happy Halloween, again, it should be like anybody's bottom, honestly. But for some reason, I like the DIY aspect of it. It's not the greatest, and I enjoyed aspects of it. I didn't enjoy aspects of it, but I dug it enough where it landed number 3. Number 2 is Killer Witches from Outer Space because I like the throwback sort of 50s, 60s monster movies. The creature looked cool. The witches look cool, and it's just like a fun little throwback. And it was more enjoyable than Pumpkinhead, which is like the exact same thing, where it's like children, in peril. But it's just like a small town community come together trying to stop something from happening. I liked all that aspect of it. And then, of course, number 1 is Wicked Season. I just like the build up and the lore and what happens with that one. It doesn't have the greatest payoff, but I had fun with it and just like where it was leading and just the backstory of the killer and just like the build up of all the other killers coming back. So yeah, Wicked Season's number 1. So Ian, your choices.
My number 1 was Wicked Season. I enjoyed that, especially for a debut movie like that. I was honestly like shocked. Like I really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed like all the different aspects of like all the ghosts and how they had to be killed. Like they put a lot of thought behind their movie. Like a lot went into making this movie. And yeah, it's still a really low budget, but like, well, a lower budget film, but I felt like it was pretty well put together. Like they knew what they were wanting to do. Was it the best movie ever? No, but it was still like very engaging. I didn't really feel like, I wasn't sitting there like, oh my God, please hurry up with this. Um, yeah, that was my number one. Number two, I thought about it because I really enjoyed this movie for what it was, and that was Killer Witches from Outer Space. One, the title is just crazy. So that's probably going to stick with me for a while. Because that sounds like a movie that you would hear from like on like a Disney show. You're like, yeah, you want to go watch Killer Witches from Outer Space with me? I liked the monsters. I liked the setting. I liked how it tied into like what was it? Prom, homecoming?
It was a Halloween dance.
Yeah, oh yeah, Halloween dance, that's right. But yeah, it was, and just like the whole lore behind it was pretty, like I felt like it was pretty solid. Like I felt like and it was just so cheesy.
Yeah, and it did
And-
everything basically what we wanted with like what Pumpkinhole should have been. Not Pumpkinhole, but Pumpkinhead. Because
Yeah.
it still had the darker sort of vibe to it, but like it was like still tongue in cheek and just like a throwback, and it was more energetic, and whereas like Pumpkinhead was just kind of marauding.
Yeah. I didn't, my number three is, when it comes to the last three, it's usually hard for me because to me, sometimes they can just be anywhere.
Mhm.
I liked Pumpkinhead more than Pumpkinhole, and I picked Pumpkinhead for my number three just because it was like just nostalgic goosebumps. Like it just felt, like it kind of knew what it wanted to do. Some of the jokes didn't land as well, but I did feel like it was just like this old school, like made for TV movie.
Halloween special, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of made me feel like Halloween. Like
Hmm.
just because like that movie made me feel like a real like I would have been excited for this to come on Nickelodeon as a kid. So I put that as my number three for nostalgic reasons. Pumpkinhole is my number four. And that movie was a choice. I mean, honestly, Pumpkinhole is probably going to be the most forgettable movie of it all. But I did feel like it had its moments, and it did know where it wanted to go. And it kind of like
Yeah,
some
that
of the
last act, it kind of just
yeah, that last act was kind of rough. And I did feel like the ending didn't deserve it. Like it was a good ending if they would have like built it up a little bit, because I felt like it was just too fast and too over with. And I felt like I was like, yeah, that wasn't like a good ending, but it just like everything happened so fast that it's just like not really satisfying. And I mean, Happy Halloween is my last one, but it really could have just been either or for the last two, especially because I feel like, while Pumpkinhole knew where it was wanting to go more, I felt like there was a little bit more to it than Happy Halloween.
Yeah, at least
But
there was a destination with Pumpkinhole, even though it didn't make sense. Like Happy Halloween, there's like we're just randomly following this person. We don't have no directions.
yeah, see, and that's the thing. That's what it was like. But I feel like Pumpkin Hole is the least rememberable movie on this list. So it could, like I said, I was like, when doing these lists, especially with some of these movies, it's like, why do I want to put this in this position? And it's like, gotta list out the pros and cons in your head,
Yeah.
and you're like, if Happy Halloween would have been a little bit more cohesive and just a tiny bit more like had a little bit more killing, because it says tasteful gore, but the only gore we see is like when the dog attacks his original owner or like one of the kids, and it's like, okay, that's it.
And then the gun blast to the guy's head.
Oh yeah. See, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's just like hardly anything, and it,
And then this body getting squished in half.
yeah. So there's hardly any like gore at all.
No, it's like all bark, no bite. It's one of those where like we got sophisticated violence and tasteful gore. Like, we hope you like, what is it, Melina Cucina or something, that cheap pasta, or what is it, Mama Cusi, whatever it is, cozy, something like that. I don't know. It's just like that cheap old pasta and spaghetti, and like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like Happy Halloween isn't the worst movie we've ever watched by far.
No.
And some of the lines were pretty funny. But I was just thinking of just like, I was gonna put it on my list, like number 5, just because like it was just.
Yeah, I mean, this one's not for you. I know that pretty.
Yeah.
I just know. I mean, again, this is like how we always differ. Like when it was like last year's Christmas marathon, and I had Krampus and the Crazy Cats as number 1. No regular person should put that as number 1, but I had the fucking time of my life watching that movie because it was so fucking ridiculous.
A year ago.
God. Well, it was last December, so yeah. But it's just like again, I look at things differently and like think of like the fun moments and stuff like that. And again, no normal person's gonna put that as number 1. But oh god, that movie is wild. I love that. Oh, you've been naughty. I don't know. It's time for some hot rod action. Ian,
yeah,
you're coming back. I still want to read that book.
What book?
The book that the director wrote.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I totally, like, honestly, it feels like it was a lot longer than a year ago.
Yeah.
Jeez, this year's gone by so slow. But yeah.
But that is going to do it, Ian. It has been a wild marathon. I will say that much. And we had to end it with what we ended it on, with Happy Halloween. But man, it was a journey. Happy Halloween. Yeah, exactly. Happy Halloween. And I'm happy that Halloween fell onto a Friday, not the 13th. And
it's got a 1 and a 3 in it.
Yeah, it does. It's just backwards. I looked at that in a mirror. But yeah, it's been a fun marathon of shows, interesting episodes. So if you haven't checked out all the episodes that we did, go back, listen to them, hear all our details. We kind of just did the shortened, condensed version with our ratings, or rankings, and so you can go back into detail about each specific film. And again, I'm glad to bring another Boneyard to light. As I said before, whether good or bad, it has its time to shine. And whatever further information I get about the film, I will put into the description or as a comment or whatever. I don't know. I'll figure that out in due time. Because again, I kind of want more information about the film, because again, we're looking at a 20-year-old movie almost, and it's just like I need more information about this film. Because like it's just, I'm always, again, I just want to know more about these low budget projects, these regional films that are just obscure and you don't know anything about. And I always love that aspect just especially like from years past, like 2006, 2007. I was right out of high school, so I wasn't like, going after like, again, I loved the low budget stuff, but I wasn't like into like the low budget stuff. Finding like these rarities, like I had some, but like not like this. And so, to know about these like coming out, just like randomly, just like from Alaska of all places, like who would have known, about this film if you're not from that area? It's just like one of those
Yeah.
where it's like there's these regional films. I mean, even again, like all the stuff is getting released today or getting found and put out on Blu-ray and 4K. Were regional films from the 70s and 80s. And they managed to find an audience. Like this is just again mid thousands, like finding an audience for this one. I mean, if you're in the so bad it's good category, but I just don't think there's enough there with Happy Halloween as there is with Homeless Joe. Homeless Joe is just, that's an experience. that is creme de la creme of so bad it's good because of the choices in that film. Like, but again, I just love bringing these films to light, talking about them because no one else is. And again, I appreciate everyone for listening. And just as me and Ian just ramble on about low budget films from all over the world, and just especially like these regional ones. And it brightens my day whenever I come across something like that. And like again, like there was no information before, and just like again to learn about it afterwards, you always appreciate that. And just especially in the time that it did, it was just like boom boom. But Ian, happy Halloween, trick or treat, and don't get hit by any bottles because those bottles are gonna kill us. I mean, we're already losing brain cells. We don't need to be walking around bleeding to death.
To lose.
we're losing them each minute by minute doing these shows. But no, I digress. It's always fun just to shoot the shit with you and just shoot the breeze and just talk about these random movies, because who else in their right mind, no one honestly should go through the hell that I do to bring these films to light. But we're here. I guess we're doing a service to the horror genre by preserving these films. And I again, another one on the notch on the belt that we got on the show and discussed. And there's a couple, but one specifically that I just recently got, and I'm not saying anything about it, but I'm just going to say we're going to be kicking the new year off with something that a lot of people, they don't know about it yet, but they've been after. There's a lot of searching for this specific one, and let's just say that here, Horror Night Oasis is going to bring it to you. So let's just say it's going to be a very, very hard, very, very hard and furious new year when we kick off 2026, because that's going to kick it off, and it's going to be great. Because I'm really excited to bring that back into the light and give it the proper desserts it needs for the horror community. Because again, people don't know they're needing this, but there's people out there asking for it. And I'm just, again, it's just one of those. It's very special that I have it now, and I can't wait to bring it to you. And Ian, we share some of these memories, but this one's going to be special because you just, again, for better or for worse, I don't know, but it's just one of those where it's just like, I hope people appreciate this one, because it took many years before it came back, and I'll get into that when we go into the history of that one. But Ian, I'm just rambling now. As always, it's great talking with you, my friend, my pal, my friend.
Likewise.
And I appreciate everyone else for listening to the Halloween Grab Bag Marathon. It's been an eventful season, and we appreciate all the listens and all the comments. And even if you don't comment, we just appreciate the time of day you take to listen to us and allow us into your homes. So with that, it is time fold up the Halloween grab bag and put it away until next year and move on to our next series of unfortunate events that 2025 has to offer us. With we still got a Christmas marathon coming up in December, but November is kind of an open book. So I'm looking forward to that. So without further ado, thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time here on Horror Not Oasis.
Happy Halloween, and may all of your trick-or-treat buckets be full of full-size candy bars. Good night.